Today I was going to a house party with some classmates from middle school and, although I don't usually drink a lot, I had a feeling some of them would and, being the mom friend, I decided to bring along Haejang guk, Korean hangover soup, for everyone. I can't exactly pinpoint a specific recipe that I'm following because I took the common things from several recipes I found online and also I had to make it vegan for some of my friends, although most recipes originally call for meat, but I'll try my best to explain what I'm doing. The first thing I did was make the sauce I would use for the tofu and the cabbage by mixing quite a lot of garlic, a couple of spoonfuls of doenjang, Korean soybean paste, far less chili flakes than what the recipes called for because not all my friends do all that well with spice, some sesame oil, soy sauce, rice vinegar and a few grinds of black pepper. Then I cut a few green onions in half and sliced some shiitake mushrooms and started preparing the broth by adding to a pot of water a couple of sheets of seaweed, the green onions and the mushrooms. As soon as it started boiling I added a dozen outer cabbage leaves to the pot, that at this point was way too full, I would suggest using a bigger one if you have it, and blanching them for a couple of minutes before removing them and cutting them into strips. Be careful not to burn yourself. While I let the broth simmer for another 10-ish minutes I cut some more green onions into smaller pieces, I coated the cabbage with half of the sauce I made earlier, I cut the tofu into bite-sized cubes and coated it with the remaining half of the sauce mixture. Then I cubed some radish as well, it should be a Korean radish called mu, but I used daikon because it's the most similar thing I can find in my country, and once the broth was done I strained it and set the vegetables I used to make it aside. Don't worry, I won't be wasting them, I'll use them tomorrow to make side dishes. Finally, it was time to actually start to cook the soup. I put the radish and the tofu into a large pot first and stirred it for a few minutes. I did this because I treated the tofu as it was meat, but it turned out a little overcooked, so I would suggest starting with the radish alone and adding the tofu later on. Then I added the broth and the cabbage mixture and let it simmer for around 15 minutes, before adding the green onions and a couple handfuls of soybean sprouts as well and letting it cook for a final 10 minutes. These measurements ended up making so much soup that, besides bringing along a full Tupperware to the party, my mom and I had it for dinner as well. I don't encourage drinking too much, but in case you do get your notebooks ready because